Shalom, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahawashi, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, double honors to our elders and apostles of great millstone that taught us his truth. Peace, love, and salutations to the whole flag Akim, teaching and preaching his truth with all righteousness and sincerity. Isaac Yawasop, today's lesson is entitled The Second Coming of the Lord Yahawashi. The Lord willing you be edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahawashi, the true names of the Heavenly Father and his only begotten Son. And as always, our sit downs, our lessons, our street speaking is for the remnant, the elect, the Israel of the Most High to use the gospel preached. So we'll be talking about the glorious return of our Lord Yahawashi, which we're which number one, I want to qualify that before Yahawashi return, there's a very important prophecy that has to take place. All right, which is the mandatory implementation of the CHIP, all right, the digital technology that Esau Edom, which he is the so-called white man, will be administering in the coming days. All right, and matter of fact, let's go ahead and start with that. All right, Elder Apostle Gabar, he always pushed the vibration. Well, number one, the scriptures push the vibration. And our apostles, they forward that pushing by letting us know before Yahawashi come that paragma has to be pushed out. So here in Revelation 14 and 9, it says, doom for the worshipers of the beast. Now the beast is this power structure, this system ruled by Esau. You got NATO, the EU, which is the beast. And then with America being a part of it, which America is the harlot, the whore. America, NATO, and the EU collectively make up this empire ruled by the Edomites, this system, this kingdom. And when you worship this kingdom, you're having great respect, you're having reverence, you're having obedience to the system and everything that it pushes out. This is Revelation 14 and 9. And a third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image. All right. And as I was mentioning, the beast is this kingdom, and this kingdom is ruled by Esau. Like I said, NATO, the EU, and with America being a part of that, collectively make up the rulership of Esau. All right. The scarlet covered beast. Right. If any man worship the beast and his image, the image meaning the likeness, because this kingdom mirrors the ancient Roman Empire from its architecture, from the Latin language to the military, to even how they appointed their presidents and their governors, so on and so forth. They had democracy there. The coins, the silver coins that they had the eagles on them. All right. And then you had Yahawashi in that kingdom, the Roman Empire. You had the teaching of Yahawashi in that kingdom, and you had the great, you had a great awakening. Apostle Paul, he was an Israelite, he was going out to the various areas where Israelites were scattered, preaching Yahawashi there. So this kingdom, pretty much is a representation of the ancient Roman Empire. In fact, the scriptures speak about the deadly wound being healed. Esau went down for a space of 1,000 years. Scholars call it the Dark Ages, and he came back during the Renaissance period, and that was his rebirth to him coming back in power. So it says, in his image, and received his mark in his forehead or in his hand. So it's going to be physical technology that will be, administered. Or you have Neuralink technology as well as the CHIP. It says the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So the MOTB is synonymous with Yahawashi coming, because he will destroy those who have taken that technology. And the smoke and the torment ascended up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receive the charagma of his name. So all these people that worship this system that will be deceived into taking this technology, they're not going to have any rest, because there's going to be a lot of things that you will have to do to upkeep it, just like with these phones. Every time you turn on your phone, it's talking about some damn update that it needs to go through. So imagine when that technology gets implanted to you, it gets implanted into you, the whole biometrics, the whole merging man with machine, basically putting this technology into you. Just as you can swipe this phone and you can purchase certain things, well, they want to put that technology into man. All right. Here's the patience of the saints, the Israelites. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yahweh and the faith of Yahawashi. So the commandments aren't done away with. All right, we won't be perfect in keeping them. However, we will rehearse the righteous acts here in the land of drawn waters. And in fact, Yahawashi, the faith of Yahawashi, all right, that's the most important, because having faith in him, you will have the remission of sins and the forgiveness of sins, the atonement of sins, the propitiation, all right, the covering. So Yahawashi is very important. Now, with that out the way, we're going to go into the second coming of our Lord Yahawashi, which is he whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Now, I mentioned yesterday with a lesson that I did, that Lord willing, if the Spirit was on me, I'll go ahead and do a lesson on it. And here we are today in Revelation 19:11. It says, and I saw heaven open, the spiritual realm, and behold, a white horse. Now, this is a code word for the so-called UFOs. All right. UFOs, UAPs, UAVs, they got different acronyms. And it's going into the chariots of Israel. All right. And they're known under various different titles. Here you have a white horse. Ezekiel speaks about a wheel within a wheel. Isaiah speaks about whirlwinds and there's doves flying. Habakkuk, it says the chariots of salvation. In Exodus, it speaks about a pillar of a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night to give light unto them that dwell in the wilderness. All right. And also in 2 Esdras 13, it speaks about a great mountain. So the aircrafts of the Lord have various different titles. All right. Oh, swift cloud, Isaiah 19. So behold, a white horse. So Yahawashi is coming from the spiritual realm in a so-called UFO, and he that sat upon him was called faithful and true. This is one of the titles of our Lord Yahawashi. And in righteousness he doth judge and make war. So Yahawashi is bringing the judgment, the justice and the judgment. So you read in Jeremiah the 23rd chapter, Lord willing, we get that. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. Not that there were actual crowns on his head, but this is symbolic to him taking over the kingdoms of the earth. And he had a name written that no man knew but himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood. And I mentioned this yesterday with the speaking, with the sit down. It's not that he will be actually dipped in blood, but this is just symbolic to the Lord getting all into this judgment. All right. And his name is called the Word of God. All right. This is another title. John, the first chapter, goes into that. It says, and the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses. Now, these armies is speaking about the innumerable angels that will be with Yahawashi in his coming. We read Revelation, the 12th chapter. It goes into this. In the book of Revelation and in various other books of the prophets, it's pretty much the same vision, but it's just described differently. Not through the Spirit. I always give this reference. If you and 5 of your brothers, went to a bowling alley, all right, here it is. You guys are all at the same event. But if you were to ask at the end of the night, what happened at this event, 9 times out of 10, they would all describe the same event, but they would describe it differently because their points of views was different, So it's just how it is with these prophecies. So Revelation 12:7, and there was war in heaven. All right, this is going into, let's read it. Michael and his angels, these are the angels, all right, fought against the dragon. The dragon is his beast, his power structure, ruled by Esau, and the dragon fought and his angels. Now, his angels is his aircrafts, his militarized aircrafts. A B, was it 50? Was it the B-52 bomber? Actually, got a couple of them written here. Let's see. The B-2 Spirit bomber, the F-35 Lightning, the F-22 Raptor. These are his angels, and you also got the Blue Angels, which just recently they had a show in Orange County out here showcasing, the power of Esau's aircraft. So what it's saying here is that the angelic forces is going to fight against Esau and his aerial military, his aircrafts, and prevail not. So Esau won't get the victory. Why? Because his power is of flesh and not spirit. All right. Let me actually get something real quick. I want to say that's Isaiah 31. Isaiah 31. Isaiah 31, verse 3. Now the Egyptians are men, the modern day Egyptian are you Babylonians, you Americans. All right. It starts off with Esau. Even when you read in Romans, the 9th chapter, when Apostle Paul was breaking it down, when he spoke about Esau, he shortly referenced Pharaoh because Esau is the modern day Pharaoh. Now the Egyptians are men and not the power, and their horses flesh and not spirit. So their power is carnal power. Their aircrafts that they got to use, they got to go and refuel. They got to go and get refueled. The man that's controlling it, he's going to get tired. All right. So on and so forth. They're not a spirit. Spirit is all energy. And that's what the aircrafts of the Lord have. They're also, when you read in Genesis, the 1st chapter, when it speaks about the spirit moved upon the waters, I was going into the angels and the aircrafts moving upon the elements and forming and creating the things that we see today. It says, when Yahawashi shall stretch out his hand, when the Lord stand up and judge, both he that helpeth shall fall, and he that is upholding shall fall down, and they all shall fail together. So Esau, as well as anybody that's, aiding and joining hand with this system, they're all going to fail together. All right. But the point I want to get is the Egyptian power, all right, because horses represents power, is flesh. They're carnal. All right. It can, flesh can get penetrated. You can get hurt. You can suffer fatigue. You can get, certain ailments. They're not of the spirit. They're not all energy. So when we go back here to Revelation, the 12th chapter, the 8th verse, it says, and prevailed not. All right. They're not going to get the victory. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven, because Esau is going to get thrown out of power, and a great dragon was cast out. Esau's power structure. This isn't talking about the spiritual demon Satan. And when we read this in Revelation 9, you should clearly see that it's not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. And we've battled people out there on the highways and the byways going into this topic here. Revelation 12 and 9, and the dragon was cast out, this power structure, that old serpent called the devil and Satan. Now, these are characteristics of Esau. The serpent, because he's the spirit that is in these Edomites, so-called white man, the wicked, goes back to that serpent-like man that deceived Eve in the garden. Okay, reincarnation is biblical. It says, called the devil. When you go into this word devil, I'm not going to do it, but it's diabolos, which is a slanderer. All right, and Satan. Satan, when you go into it, is adversary. Everything in his kingdom, when you look at it and you do your research, have been clearly adverse to righteousness. Here it is on the back of a dollar. It says, "In God we trust," but they push out laws to protect people who are of the alphabet community. All right, that's one of several examples we can be listing here today. But these are characteristics. Now, this isn't talking about the spiritual demon Satan. Remember, the spiritual demon Satan is in complete obedience and submissive and subjective under Yahawashi, and we get an example of that in Job, the 1st chapter, as well as the 2nd chapter. And also in 2 Thessalonians, the second chapter, Apostle Paul, he was speaking about Esau coming after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. All right, so he was talking about the physical counterpart. It says, which deceiveth the whole world, and that's part of Esau's characteristics. Now, when you examine the scripts deal with characteristics. All right, Esau was a cunning man in the field. All right, he wanted to kill his brother Jacob. All right, Esau deceived the whole world. His spiritual animal is the eagle. Part of his characteristic is that he wants to ascend to the heights of the heaven. You know, he sets his throne amongst the stars, the ISS, which is the international space stations, so on and so forth. We can go all day listing characteristics. All right. It says, and he was cast into the earth, and his angels was cast out with him. So Esau's military is going to get utterly destroyed. Now you can also read this in Isaiah the 34th chapter. It speaks about all this host shall fall down upon the ground. It says, and then you can keep reading there. Now, when we go to our featured chapter here in Revelation 19 and 14, it says, and the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, like we was going into in Revelation, the 12th chapter. Same vision, it's just, explained differently. It's going into Michael and his angels. All right, which you got Yahawashi, the chief angel, and then you got Michael and then the innumerable angels. So in the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses. The angels are going to be in aircraft, so-called UFOs, clothed in fine linen, white and clean, which represents the righteousness. Verse 15, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations. Now, to get further understanding of what's being said here, read 2nd Esdras the 13th chapter. So out of the command of Yahawashi's mouth, he's going to command these aircraft to shoot out laser beams. How the second chapter also goes into that as well. I've done lessons on that. Out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nation. So not only will it be thermonuclear destruction, all right, that's going to cause that fire, you're also going to have laser beams shot out of the chariots of Israel. It says that he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of the Most High. So the Lord is coming to bring judgment. All right. When you go into the ancient custom of a wine press, you would get the clusters of grapes, and you put them in an area, and then you would go and stump them out, and that will produce the blood of the grape, which you would get it and bottle it, and you will ferment it, and then you will have wine. So it's a very tedious, you get all into it. So that's what Yahawashi is going to do. He's going to tread the wine press of the fierceness of the wrath of the Most High. Now, when you go here to Isaiah 63, Esau is synonymous with this wine press. Isaiah 63 and 1, and it's entitled The Most High Vengeance on the Nations, and that's what we read there in Revelation 19, as well as what we read in Revelation 12. It says, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? He that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. This is the Lord Yahawashi traveling in the so-called UFO. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. So we know that this is talking about Yahawashi, because he is mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat. Same thing that we read here in Revelation 19. All right, when we read up, it speaks about his vesture dipped in blood. All right. It spoke about his vestures dipped in blood. So Apostle John, he saw the same vision that we're reading Isaiah saw. Okay. It says, thou art red in all thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat. Wine fat goes into the produce of the wine of the grapes once you stump them out, which is red. It says, I have trotted the wine press alone, and of the people there was none with me. Now we read that Yahawashi had the angels with him, but what it's saying is this destruction is going to be credited to Yahawashi. I will tread them in my anger, and I will trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. So I was mentioning earlier, not that he would actually have blood on them, because he's coming in his the power and great glory, but it's just parabolic to how Yahawashi is going to get into this destruction. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. The redeemed is the elect of Israel. So the judgments is synonymous with the elect getting delivered. It says, and I looked, and there was none to help. And I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore, my own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it upheld. And I will tread down the people, the nations, in my anger, 2/3 is a part of that, and make them drunk in my fury, and I will bring down their strength to the earth. And that's what we was reading in Revelation 12. The Lord is bringing their strength to the earth. Ultimately, talking about the kingdom is finna be brought low, but then you're going to have Esau and his aircrafts fighting against the Lord, and then the Lord is going to zap them with the laser beam. So now let's continue on here in Revelation 19 and 15. It says, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations. Like I was mentioning earlier, there's going to be laser beams shot out of the aircrafts of the Lord. He's going to be smiting these nations. 2 Esdras 13 goes into that. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of the Almighty. We just read that in Isaiah 13 and Isaiah 63. And when you read Isaiah 63, what nation is brought up? Brought up Edom. So the Edomites is still here. Verse 16, and he have on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and this goes into the magnificent power that the angels have. And he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great power. And this links up with Isaiah 13. And Isaiah 13 goes into the destruction of Babylon. It's entitled Prophecies About Babylon. It's not talking about Neo-Babylon, ruled by Nebuchadnezzar and later his grandson, Belshazzar. This is talking about this modern day Babylon. Because ancient Babylon, when you read in Daniel, the 5th chapter, it didn't go out the way that ancient Sodom and Gomorrah went out. It was a military campaign by Darius the Mede. He took over the Babylonians, and then Babylon became a province of the Medo-Persian Empire. Isaiah 13:19, in Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, and you cannot say that America is not the glory of kingdoms. Every country pretty much patterns their country after America. You know, you got English language there. When you go into some of these metropolitan cities in these other countries, it look like downtown LA somewhere in Manhattan. All right. Like I said, the English language, the westernized way of living, the culture here, as well as them even using democracy to appoint their governors and princes and kings, so on and so forth. But here in Isaiah 13:9, in Babylon, the glory of kingdoms and the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency. The Chaldees, they were the Magi's, the sorcerers, the wise men. Today, that's NASA, the scholars, the biblical scholars, the architectures that go and excavate these ancient lands and pull up the different relics, you know, so on and so forth. Excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And we know that history when you read in, I want to say Genesis 19, that the Lord rained down fire and brimstone from the heavens. But this time, it'd be laser beams and thermonuclear destruction from the ICBM missiles. All right. But I want to get this point because it spoke about these birds coming here, and it's not in this chapter. It's actually Isaiah 34, but the Spirit led me there, so we brought it out. So let's go to Isaiah 34 towards the end, and it speaks about, and it's entitled Most High, because the Lord's wrath is going to be amongst the nations, because as it says here, he's King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and he's going to have many crowns. But the chief nation, the nation that's in power, will be Esau, Edom. So after the destruction comes, just hit this point. Isaiah 34:14 here in Babylon the Great, which is America. The beasts of the desert shall also meet with the beasts of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The streets also shall rest there and find herself a place of rest. And there shall the great owls make her nest and lay and hatch and gather under her shadow. There shall also the vultures also be gathered, everyone with their mates. So the Lord is going to command these birds to come, these desert-like creatures, these birds to come here. And we're reading that here also in Revelation 19:17. And I saw an angel standing in the sun. And he cried with a loud voice, saying to the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourself together unto the supper of the great power, that ye may eat the flesh of kings. See, this war that's in heaven is not going to be against the spiritual demon Satan. It's going to be against Esau, these kings, the bankers, and their military. It says, and they, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. So the destruction. And I saw the beast, this kingdom, and the kings of the earth, throw in Kim Jong-un, throw in, the Saudi prince, was this Al-Manazar or whatever, throw him in there, the kings of the earth, and their armies gathered to make war against him that sat on a horse and against his army. So this isn't, when we read in Revelation 12, in the 7th verse, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angel fought against the dragon fought against his angels. It's not talking about a fight with the spiritual demon Satan. It's going into Yahawashi and Michael and the angels fighting against the kings of the earth and their military. All right. Continue on reading in Revelation 19:19. I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse, the aircraft, so-called UFO, in his army. Same thing we read in Revelation 12. And with him, false prophet, all right, which goes into the Roman Catholic Church and all the daughter churches that come out of it, that wrought miracles before him. Yeah, because Esau is going to be using these churches to do particular things, to deceive the nations by way of the miracles, who's to say that, with these churches, they're going to be having them C-hip stations, pushing out the vibration on how, certain people that was paraplegic, they got the C-hip in them, and now they walking, so on and so forth. It says, with which he deceived them that received the MRK, the MOTB. So people's going to be deceived into taking this technology. All right. Once again, the technology comes, and then Yahawashi comes. Okay. But remember, Esau, Edom, he deceived the whole world. So he's going to be using the church. He's going to be using these political figures, your mayors, your politicians, your governors, your presidents. He's going to be using the entertainers. All your favorite celebrities, just like we saw during the C-19, they all had a hand in pushing that vibration into taking the Crown Vic, right? So Tino says, which he deceived them that received the MOTB, and them that worship his image, and we went into that earlier. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire burning with brimstone. So what is the lake of fire that burns with brimstone? When the missiles hit, all right, and it caused that thermonuclear destruction here in Babylon the Great, from an aerial standpoint, when you're looking down, it's going to look like a lake on fire. All right, and these people who take that technology will get destroyed. All right. We read that earlier in opening the video in Revelation 14. It says, and the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon on the horse. These are these people that's left here for the destruction. All right, they're going to get destroyed. With sword proceeded out of his mouth, going into the laser beams, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. So great judgment of the Lord Yahawashi, and shalom to the Akim and the Akwat that been tuning in. This look like some spam on here. Let's see if we can get rid of it. Block. Yeah, all these weirdos that come on our channels spewing out madness, you will be blocked. All right, so this went into the Yahawashi, the second coming of the Lord Yahawashi. We read Revelation, parts of Revelation 14, parts of Revelation 12, parts of Revelation 19. We read Isaiah 63, parts of Isaiah 34, so on and so forth, and as well as I got Jeremiah here, but the point is pretty much addressed. Now, I could leave off with Isaiah 66 and 15. Like I said, it's a lot of chapters in the scripts that go into Yahawashi in his second return. This is Isaiah 66:15. Start up a little bit to build up the vibration. And when you see this, your heart shall rejoice and your bones shall flourish like a herb, going into the majesty and the different things that the Lord is going to give the children of Israel in his coming kingdom. It says, in the hand of Yahweh shall be known towards his servants and his indignation towards his enemies. So it's going to be a separation. It's going to be people of the Lord and these nations. It says, for behold, Yahweh will come with fire. He's going to come through his son, Yahawashi. And his chariots like a whirlwind. And that's just what we read in Revelation 19. To render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. So the aircrafts, the chariots, the so-called UFOs will be shooting out laser beams. Habakkuk, the 3rd chapter. For by fire, the laser beams, and by his sword, the instrument of the Lord's indignation, which is the ICBM missiles, will the Lord plead with all flesh. When you go into this word plead, is shapat, which means judge. And the slain of Yahweh shall be many. We read about it. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, in the swine's flesh, in the abomination, in the mouse shall be consumed together, saith Yahweh. So what is this talking about? These people that's in these temples, and they're into idol worship and eating unclean or unlawful foods. So you people that's in the churches, and y'all eating the ribs that pastor is making, these different abominations, which to eat swine and touch the carcass of swine is a transgression of the law. So what is it saying? The law is still enacted. And the abomination in the mouse, right? Got people eating mouses. Shall be consumed together, saith Yahweh. So these people that's into idol worship and eating abominable foods, basically unrepentant sinners, they're going to get consumed. For I know their works and their thoughts. The Lord angels travel to and fro in the earth, beholding the good and the evil. I think that's Proverbs 15:3. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. Isaiah 60. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pool, and Lud, to draw the bow, to Tubal and Javin. Are these is Japhet? To them isles, or the islands afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles, or the scattered Israelites. And you can keep reading. All right, so point has been established. So, Lord willing, it was edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai. And I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Kakwadash, and double honors to our elders and apostles, the great millstone that taught us true. Shalom, stay strong.